Hello everybody, welcome to today's CCNA package tracer activity, which is 17.8.2. And the title of this package tracer activity, as you can see, is a skills integration challenge. I would say this is one of the toughest package tracer activity because it covers a lot, starting from subnetting, configuring routers, switches, configuring VTY lines, adding password, and setting up requirements for the password on how long it should be, and stuff like that. So it covers a pretty broad topic, but I'll make sure to make things easy for you guys to follow. So please stick until the end of this video. I'm sure you're going to be learning a lot about networking. So to start off, I'm just going to read the basic scenario so that you guys can have an understanding of what we're going to be doing. So the router central ISP cluster and the web server are completely configured. You must create a new IPv4 addressing scheme that will accommodate 4 subnets using the 192.168.0.0/24 network. It says the IT department requires 25 hosts. As you can see here, this is the IT department host. The sales department needs 50 hosts, which is this one. The subnet for the rest of the staff requires 100 hosts, which is our staff computer. Or, our staff department needs 100 hosts. So a guest subnet will be added in the future to accommodate 25 hosts. So there's also going to be a guest computer in the future. So we need to put at least 25 IP addresses for the hosts. You must also finish the basic security settings and interface configuration on R1. Then you'll configure the SVI interface and basic security settings on switch S1, S2, and S3. So using this IP address, we're going to be configuring we're going to subnet this IP address we're going to create 4 subnets, and then we're going to allocate IP addresses for the different departments. So that's that. So it says IPv4 addressing, use 192.168.0.0/24 to create subnets. That means the host requirements. This is just the thing we just talked about now. So to make things easier, I've already subnetted this IP address into 4, as you can see here. And I've also allocated these IP addresses to these different departments. So the reason I just did that beforehand is because if I do this in this video, it's going to take an additional 20 to 25 minutes to explain it to you guys. But if you guys really want to learn on how to do subnetting, please leave a comment below and I'll make sure to put a video on how to do subnetting. So let's get started here. So as you can see here, for the staff computer, I have 126 IP addresses. For the sales, I have 63. For the IT, I have 31. And for the guests, I have 31 as well. What required was the staff needed 100, but I got 126. So it's always good to have more than having less. So that's why I configured slightly more IP addresses just in case. So here, how I counted it is because if you see the last one, it says 0, and if you see this one, it says 127. It's just to give you a brief idea of why I said there's 126 IP addresses. So from 0 to 127, we have 126. So the first one is the network address. That's why we're not going to use it. And the last one is the broadcasting address, and we're not going to use the last address. So anywhere in between we can use. So we have 192.168.0.1 all the way to 192.168.0.126. So that's why I said we have 126 addresses. And the same thing with sales, same thing with IT, and same thing with guest computers. So let's proceed. It says document the IPv4 addresses that have been assigned in the addressing table, which we already did. It says record the subnets for the guest network. We already did that as well. So PC configuration configures the assigned IPv4 addresses, subnet mask, and default gateway settings on the staff, sales, and IT PCs using your addressing scheme. So let's do that here. So we can start with the staff. I click on staff. I do IP configuration. But first, let me just split this screen into 2 so that it makes it easier for us to see. So I click on staff, IP configuration. So now I'm going to be setting the IPv4 address. As you can see here, I said I can use anywhere from 192.168.0.1 to 192.168.0.126. So for this one, I'm going to be using 192.168.0. I'm just going to use 0.5 because it's just easier to remember. And the subnet mask says 20/25. So that tells us there is 25 bits that are turned on this network. So this will give us a subnet mask of 255.255.255.128. And that will be our subnet mask. For our default gateway, we haven't set it up the router yet, so we're going to come back to this. I'm just going to leave it empty for now. For the IPv6 address, it's already given to us here. So this is the table that's already been given here. The only table I added is the subnetted IP address table, which is this one, but everything else is given. So IPv6 address, for the staff, as we can see here, it's 2001, column DB8, column ACAD, column 2/64. All right, so that's the IPv6 address. For the link local, we have been given FE80 column 2. So, okay, I must have typed the IPv6 address. So let me just do that again. 2001 column DB8 column ACAD column 2/64. We should be good now. So I'm just going to erase this because our link local is FE80 column 2, which is this one. For our default gateway, it's already given to us here, which I'm going to do FE80 column 1. And that will conclude our addressing for this tab. As I said, we're going to come back for the default gateway, but everything else is set it up. All right, so just going to click X. I'm just going to do the same thing for the sales and IT department, so let's do that quickly here. Because I'm on the IPv6 page, I'm just going to do the IPv6 first. For the sales, I can see it here. So I'm just going to put it 2001 DB8 ACAD 1 2/64. I'm going to erase this because it says FE80 column 2. So I don't need the other. So the default gateway says FE80 column 1. So it's going to be FE80 column 1. Right, so that will do it. We're going to go to the IPv4 address for the cells. So here is cells. So we're going to do 192.168.0.128. Oh, we can't use 128 because this is the networking address. So we can use anywhere in between from 128 to 190. So for us to make it easy to remember, I'm just going to use 135. So for each, I'm just going to use, something that has a 5 on the last digit. So I'm just going to use 135. And then the subnet mask is 255.255.255.192. As I said, I can do a video on this on how to do the subnetting. And the reason I put it the 192 is because it has a /26. And there's a table for that because the bit goes 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. So there's a table where we can tell why this is converting to this. So please make sure to put a comment so that I can put a video on it if you guys are interested. If not, if you guys just want to learn on how to set this up, please feel free to watch this video till the end. And you're going to have a lot of knowledge on how to configure the Cisco switches and routers. So let's continue this video. So for the default gateway, I'm just going to skip that because we haven't set it up the router. So everything else is good to go. So I'm just going to click on X here. All right, so I think we've done the staff. Yep. We just left with the IT. So for the IT here, this is the IPv4 address that I created. I'm just going to do 192.168.0.195. I can use anywhere from 193 to 221, so I can use that. And the subnet mask is at /27, so that will be 255.255.224. The default gateway, I'll just skip it for now. The IPv6 address is going to be, for IT, is going to be 2001.db8.acad.2.2/64. All right. I'm going to adjust this one because our link local is right here and our default gateway is right here. FE80::1. All right, that's it for this one. Click X. So we've successfully set up our computers. So now I'm just going to go to the router next. I'm sure that's going to be our next step here. Let's read this. So it says assign the IPv6 unicast link local address and network default gateway to the staff, sales, ID networks according to the addressing table, which we already did. We've set up both the IPv4 and IPv6. So now it says go to the R1 configuration. So press enter. I go to my privilege mode. And then it says configure the device name according to the addressing table. So first we're going to just configure it to R1. As you can see here, it says router. So I'm going to go to my configuration terminal, host name. I'm going to do R1 because that's the host name we want. Oops, sorry, I misspelled it. It's going to be R1. All right, so as you can see here, it's our router's name is R1. It says disable NS lookups. The command we use to disable DNS is IP domain. I'm going to put no IP domain lookup. So that's going to disable our DNS. All right, and then it says assign Cisco NPA as the encrypted privilege executive mode. So for that, we just do enable. Remember, we have to use secret because this says encrypted privilege mode. It just doesn't want a plain text password, so we use secret. And then we put this password. I'm just going to copy paste it so that I don't misspell the password. I'm going to put copy, paste here, and press enter. By the way, quick reminder. So on our packet tracer activity, you can track your progress here. So far we've went 25%. So by the end of this video, we're going to get to 100%. So it's just, I just want to remind you guys on how you can track your packet tracer activity. So let's get back. So now it says assign as this password Cisco CONPA55 as the console password and enable login. So for the console, we have to go to line console 0 to set up the console password, and then we have to put password. And then I'm going to have to copy this password right here. But first, I think I put it too much S on password. I misspelled it. And then I press space here. I put my password. So this is how you do it. I press enter. So now we've set up this password. It says requires that a minimum of 10 characters be used for all passwords. So that's not a problem. So for this, we type in the command security passwords. Security passwords, and then we're gonna have to do minimum length. We want it to become 10 because we've been told to put a minimum of 10 lengths for the password. I press enter, and then it says encrypt all plain text passwords. For that, you have to do the service encryption, service password encryption. So this is how you encrypt the password. So if I go to my show run configuration, I'll see all my passwords are encrypted now. So on my previous videos, I've already showed on how to do, these basic commands, setting up the password, the host name, and stuff like that. So that's why I'm just moving over a little bit quicker because this is a long lab. If you guys didn't understand some of the stuff I said, please refer to my previous videos and you'll have a more understanding of what we're doing here. So next I'm going to go to, it says create a banner that warns on anyone accessing the device that unauthorized access is prohibited. That's not a problem. We can do that. So I'm going to do banner, MOTD. It's going to be, I'm going to do quotation, authorized access only, put the exclamatory mark, you can write this however way you want it. Just don't forget your exclamatory mark. Don't forget the banner, MOTD comment, and I press enter. And now it says configure and enable all gigabit Ethernet interfaces. So we've done with this part, with the basic configuration. Now we're going to have to set up the router IP addresses. So first, we're going to be going to the interface G000 because it says enable all gigabit Ethernet interfaces, configure IPv4 address according to your addressing scheme, and configure the IPv6 address according to your addressing scheme. So we have our addressing table here. We're going to set up our IPv4 and IPv6 address. So the G000 goes to our first switch. That was the default gateway. Our switch number 1 is going to be using the G000, the G00 as its default gateway. Switch number 2 is going to be using G01. Switch number 3 is going to be using G02. So that's our plan here. So let me go to my interface G0/0. And then now I'm going to be setting the IPv4 address based on my staff IP addresses that I configured previously. So I can choose any one of them here. So I'm going to do IP address, but remember I can't use our subnet address and broadcast address because these are reserved address, and this is my networking address, so I can't be using this, but I can use any address in between the network address and the broadcast address. So IP address, I'm gonna do 192.168.0. I'll just use 0.1 for this, and our subnet mask, we have a /25 subnet mask, so that's gonna equal to 255.255.255.128. I press enter to the no shutdown command. So as you can see, our Ethernet interface is already up, and then I also gotta do the IP address FE80. Oh, before that, let me set up the IPv6 address. So to do that, I'm just going to be typing IPv6 address, and then I'm gonna, oh, this is what I was looking at. I think I did an extra D. I misspelled it. So the IPv6 address is going to be right here that's given to us. So we're just going to put it as it is, 2001, column and DB8, column and ACAD, column 1/64. All right. So I'm just going to do the no shutdown command, and then now I'm going to set up my link local address. So for that, I'm going to still keep the IPv6 address command, and then I'm going to do FE80, which is our link local, as you can see here, column and 1, column and 1, and then I have to specify link local. I press enter. So now we're done with the G000 interface. As you can see here, there's a green mark now which tells us it's communicating. So that's a good thing. So let's go to our next one, which is G01, interface G0/1, which is this one. So let's start with our IPv4 address. So I'm going to put IP address, and then 192.168.0. I can use 129, as I said, anywhere in between 128 and 190. I'll just use the next available address, which is 129. And then the subnet mask /26 is going to be equal to 255.255.192. because there is 26 bits that are turned on. And if you heard me before, I said there's an addressing table 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. And based on that, if you turn this into binary and if you match it with a table, it will give you a 255.255.255.192 address. I'm sure what I said now just didn't make sense for you, probably, because if you don't know about this. But as I said, I can make a video, a full video about this. It's just going to take us a little bit longer time, like 20 to 25 minutes uh, to teach you guys that. So just leave me a comment. I'll make sure to put a video on it. So IP address, so I've configured this. I press enter. And then I put my no shutdown command. So now my interface state is turned up. Now I have to do the IPv6 address. My IPv6 address for G01 is right here. It's going to be 2001 db8 ACAD :1:1/64. Just double checking here. All right. I press enter, and then I'm going to have to set up my link local. So IPv6 address, and then I specify FE80:1. I'm just copying from here, and then I put link local, and that's it. Press enter. Oh, I must have misspelled my link local here, IPv6 address. Oh, there's another column in here. Okay, I press enter now, and then I put my no shutdown just in case. All right, so we've set it up our IP for our G01 interface. So I'm just going to go to the next interface, which is G0/2. All right, so interface G0/2. So our IP address for that is going to be 192.168.0.193. I'm just using the next available address. After this, I can use anywhere in between 192 and 223. Yeah, I can't use 223, I can't use 192, so I'm just going to be using 193. A /27 subnet mask will give me 255.255.255.224. All right, so I press enter. I do my no shutdown command. As you can see, the interface state is changed to up. I press enter again. Now I'm going to have to set up my IPv6 address, which is going to be right here. That's going to be 2001 db8 :ACAD :2 :1/64. Then I'll press enter. And then I'm going to have to set up my link local. So I'm just going to do FE80 ::1. I have to specify that it's a link local address. Press enter. All right, so right now I've set it up all of my interfaces, both my IPv4 and IPv6 address, as you guys saw here. So now, as you can see, we have a green connection, so that means our switch is connecting to our router. We haven't set it up the switch yet, but this just tells us we're on the right track. So let's move on. It says configure and enable all gigabit Ethernet interfaces. That's what we just did now. We configured both the IPv4, IPv6 address. So let's go to the next one. It says configure SSH on R1. So go to R1. It says set the domain name to ccnalab.com. So we can do that. So we have to do, so we're going to do IP domain name. And then it's been given to us ccna-lab.com. So we've specified the domain name. it says generate a 1024-bit RSA keys just for security. So we're going to be setting up, we're going to have to use a crypto command. So crypto key generate RSA, and then it says we need a 1024. So press 1024 here, press enter. So that has been successful. It says okay. And now it says use the local user profile for authentication, create a user admin1 with a privilege level of 15 and use the encrypted password of admin1 PA55. So to do that, we're going to have to specify our username, which is admin1, and then we'll do privilege, do our privilege, which is it wants a 15, and then I'm going to put secret because it says encrypted password. I'm going to do admin 1, and then it says PA55. I'm just writing the password that I'm seeing here. So I press enter. That have been set it up correctly. It says configure the console and VTY lines to go out after 5 minutes of inactivity. That's not a problem. We have to go to our line VTY line, which is from 0 till 15. As I said, if you go to my previous video, you will know what I meant by line VTY. If you go to my show run command, I will say there is a line VTY from 0 to 15. That's why I went to line VTY 0 to 15. And then I'm going to do my executive timeout. And then I'm going to have to set up to, it said 5. Press enter. And it says block anyone for 3 minutes who fails to log in after 4 attempts within a 2-minute period. So we can do that as well. We have to specify the login command and then have to put block -4. And then I'm going to have to do block anyone for 3 minutes, which equals to 180 seconds, right? So I'm just going to do 180. And then I'm going to have to specify the attempts. So it says who log in after 4 attempts. So I'm going to have to put 4 attempts. And then within. And then we have with a 2-minute period. So that equals to 120 seconds. So that will be my command for this. I press enter. So I've set it up that. So anyone who accesses our system and puts a wrong password 4 times is going to be blocked for 3 minutes. And that's how it's going to be. So we go to our switch configuration. So we have successfully configured our router. That's a good thing. So we just need to go to our switch. Let me just make sure we haven't missed anything here. Configure console, VTY lines, block anyone. All right. So as you can see here, everything looks good. So let's go to the switch configuration. So I press X here. I go to my S1, configure device name. So we can start by configuring the device name, but I have to go to my privilege and then I have to go to my global configuration mode. And then I have to type host name, and then I have to put S1 because we're configuring our switch number 1, as you can see here. Okay, and then it says configure the SVI interface with IPv4 address and subnet mask according to your addressing scheme. All right, we can do that. So first thing is first, let me just set up my default gateway. So I have to specify IP default gateway. And then for our default gateway, if you remember for the router, we gave it a 192.168.0.1 address. So I'm going to give it the same address here so that it can use our router's default gateway to access the internet. 0.1. So I press enter. So our default gateway set it up. And now we're going to have to go to our interface VLAN 1. So I have to do interface VLAN 1, press enter. And then I have to set up the IP address. So I'm going to be using 192.168.0.1. I can use 2 for this one. I can use anywhere in between, as I said before. So I'll use 2. And then our subnet mask of /25 is going to be 255.255.255.128. I give my no shutdown command. Interface state is changed to up, as you can see here. And now I'm going to have to configure my IPv6 address. Oh, actually, I don't need to configure my IPv6 address on my switch. So that saves us a good time. So that's good. So we press exit. Let's see what we get here. It says configure the IPv4 address and then configure the default gateway. That's the first thing we did. It says disable NS lookup. So they don't want the DNS to be up, so I have to put no IP domain lookup. Okay, so we've done that. It says assign as Cisco as the encrypted privilege executive mode password. I'm just going to copy this, go back to my switch, and then I do Cisco NPA55. So this is going to be for our privilege. So I'm going to do enable. I don't have to go to my line console for this. Enable, secret, and then, oh, I already copied it. So enable secret, and then I just copy this password right here. I press enter. And then now we need to assign the line console. That's the password that we use when we first enter the switch. And then I put a password. The password for this is going to be Cisco NPA55. I'm just copying it from here. I press enter. I do my login. Press enter again. I exit out. All right, so that's been done. It says configure the VTY lines. Configure the console and VTY lines to log out after 5 minutes of inactivity. So yep, we can do that. So I'm gonna go to my line console first. So executive timeout. It says after 5 minutes. Press enter. And then I'm gonna have to go to my line VTY because it also says to do our line VTY as well. So line VTY 0 to 15, same thing. We want our switch to timeout after 5 minutes. All right, so we've done this part. It says encrypt all plain text, passwords. So use the service command for this. Service password encryption. All right, so that's done. Connectivity requirement. So after this, we're going to be pretty much done. So I'm done with switch number 1. Just going to repeat the same thing for switch number 2 and switch number 3. And then our systems will be up and running. So press here, I press enter, I do my enable. I go to my configuration terminal and I use my default gateway first. I like setting up the default gateway first because while I'm still at the configuration terminal before I go to my interface. Default gateway, and then I'm gonna put my 192.168.0.129 because this is the IP address we gave for our G0/1 interface. So it's gonna be using that default gateway to access the internet. So that's why we did this. Press enter, and then now I go to my interface VLAN 1. So I'm gonna set up my IP address. It's just gonna be 192.168.0. I'm gonna use 130, and then subnet mask is gonna be 255.255.192 because it's a /26. So I press enter. I give my no shutdown command. Interface state is changed to up, and now I do my IPv6 address. Oh, I don't need to do IPv6 address, so that's it. I do exit, and I Let's do the rest. So configure the default gateway, DNS, disable DNS. They want us to disable the DNS, IP, no IP domain lookup. I just misspelled this one. All right, so that's done. And then now it says assign this password. So we're gonna do our enable secret. We're gonna do our enable secret, and then we have to put this password right here. Cisco ENPA55. And then I'm gonna have to do the console password. I have to specify, I'm going to my line console 0. I press enter, and then and then from here, I go to my password. I do my password and then copy paste this password. It's gonna be This is gonna be our password. Let me just double check real quick. PA55. All right. But I'm gonna have to specify login and then exit. All right, it says configure the console in V2 lines to log out after 5 minutes of inactivity. So for that, we're gonna have to go to my line console first, and then I'm gonna have to specify the timeout, and then I'm gonna have to specify for 5 minutes. And now I'm gonna have to go to my VTY line VTY 0 to 50, and then same thing, executive timeout, and then I want this for 5 minutes again, and then I just exit out of this. So it says encrypt all plaintext password. As we saw before, we use the service password encryption. I'm sure at this point you must have an idea of how to do this, I hope. So let's keep on going. So now we've done this, so now I'll go back to my switch number 3. We're just doing the same thing again. I go in, I go to my privilege, I go to my global configuration mode, and then I specify my default gateway first. That's how I like to do it. So I specify default gateway, and then it's going to be right here, as you can see, 192.168.0. If you remember, we gave it a 193 for our router, so we'll give it the same thing. Press enter, and then now we're going to have to go to our VLAN 1 interface. And then once we go into VLAN 1, we're going to have to specify our IP address. IP So we're going to give an IP address based on our IT department. So it's going to be 192.168.0.190. I'm just going to give it a 194. Subnet mask is going to be 255.255.255.224 because it's a /27. I'm going to do enter. I give my no shutdown command. My interface state is changed to up. I exit out of this and I'm going to set up everything else. So here we have, it says disable NS lookup, so IP domain lookup. To specify we don't want, so I have to put no IP domain lookup. I press enter, and then I have to assign my Cisco CNPA for my privilege. I do enable, secret, and then my password, Cisco ENPA55. I press enter, and then I have to do my line console for this one right here. My line console 0, and then I'm gonna have to put password Cisco NPA55. Let me just make sure I tapped it correctly. Right. So for you guys, you can just copy paste it. That will be more accurate because the lab is gonna give you score on based on how you do it exactly from here. If you mistype a password, it's not gonna give you a credit for that. So just make sure you type it correctly. Press enter. I do my login, and then I exit out of the system, and then configure the console VTY lines. The console and VTY lines to log out after 5 minutes of inactivity. It's not a problem. We go to line console 0. It's the same interface as we were in. We shouldn't have been out, but that's okay. So I do executive timeout. I'm just doing the same command that we've been doing so far. And then we want it for 5 minutes. All right, so I'm going to go to my line VTY. All my line VTY lines. So executive timeout. I'm going to do the same thing, 5 minutes. It says encrypt all plain text password. So I'm going to do service, and then we do password. Oh, service password, encryption, press enter. Okay, that's it. Oh, so we forgot to change the switch's name. So host name, this is our switch number 3. So do this. Now it's changed to switch number 3. Let me just make sure if I did it on switch number 2. Oh, so we haven't done the host name. So host name, we're going to do is switch number 2. So as you can see, my switch has changed from switch to S2. Right, that's a good thing. So we're getting done. So as you remember before, we haven't set it up the staff default gateway. So I'm just going to be doing that now. So the default gateway for our G00 interface, if you remember, same thing that we did for the switch, which is going to be 192.168.0.1. Based on this, this is the default gateway that we gave first for our G00 interface, and that connects to our staff department. So that's why I did that. Then I press X. I do same thing with my sales. Go to IP configuration. Sales is right here, so I do 192.168.0.129. So that's the default gateway that we gave for G0/1. I press X. And then I go to my IT department, IP configuration. My default gateway for my IT department is going to be 192.168.0, and then 0.193. So because that's the default gateway that we gave for our G02, which goes to our IT department. All right, so it says we have a score of 97%. We must have missed a step. So the good thing about the packet tracer activity lab is you can go to check results and then see if you have missed anything. So I go down. So I see that we haven't done the transport SSH. So that's what we're missing. Everything else looks good. So we can just do that real quick now. So it's amazing how we didn't see it. So let me go back and see where it says the transport SSH. So I'm just scanning over to the top, and I'm trying to see. All right, so configure SSH on R1, configure. So this is the steps that we missed on R1. So we go to R1, I press enter, I go to my enable to go to the privilege mode, but remember we have set it up a password now, so we just can't go in. So it's going to be Cisco NPA 55. This is the password we use for this. For when we first enter the switch, we have to use the line console. Press enter. Oh, I must have mistyped the password. It's going to be Cisco. Oh, let me just type that. All right, so that worked. I'm sorry, I had to use the privilege mode, not the console. So now I'm on my privilege mode. So next, we're going to be going to our configuration terminal, and then we're going to have to go to our line VTY, and then we have to give the command transport input SSH to do the configure. It says configure VTY line for SSH access. So this is going to allow us to connect remotely, input SSH, and then I press enter, and then I give the login local command. I press enter, so we should be good to go now. So as you can see here, our packet tracer completion says 100%. So we've completely completed this activity. Press X if I go to my check results. So if I go here, I'm sure it shows us we have completed the errors that we saw before right here. So login, terminal line, timeout, transport SSH, that's the things that we missed before. So everything else looks good. So there is it. So 100% on our packet tracer activity. So if you guys have any questions about this lab, please make sure to leave a comment below. As I mentioned on my beginning of this video, if you want to see on how to do the subnetting that I did here, I can make a video on it. Please let me know as well. And I hope you guys learned something from this video. So that's gonna be it for now. So guys, take care. Until next time. Bye.